If you are a power player, a challenge taker, driven to perform with a passion for excellence, a visionary with dreams for the future, elevate your life with People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
In a few moments, the news.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachi, read by Soundithavam. The President instructs the relevant authorities to develop the city of Nuwara Eliya. He says the agreement between the IMF and the government provides an opportunity to rebuild the economy. Over 300 additional SLTB buses have been deployed for the convenience of the people who visit hometowns during the festive season. The All-Island Buddhist Congress requests the government to provide some kind of relief for the places of religious worship affected by the electricity tariff hike. The 2022 GCE O-level examination postponed. In foreign news, the US says a journalist is wrongfully detained in Russia. And in sports, the test series between Sri Lanka and Ireland will commence on April 16th. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says the Nuwara Eliya city should be developed, maintaining a tranquil environment instead of tall buildings. President Ranil Wickremesinghe directed officials to develop a formal plan aimed at maximizing the Nuwara Eliya district to a major tourist city to build the country's economy as part of the Sri Lankan government's program to establish a stable economy within 4 years. He said this at a discussion held at the Nuwara Eliya district secretariat yesterday. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who spoke at the occasion, highlighted that despite the belief of many that the country's economy could not be rebuilt, the agreement reached by the International Monetary Fund and the government provides an opportunity for fresh hope on the country's economy. The Sri Lanka Transport Board Chairman Lalit Alvis said that 300 additional buses operate from the Colombo Central bus stand from yesterday for the convenience of those making their way to the villages for the National New Year. The number of additional bus journeys will be gradually increased to 300 today and tomorrow from Colombo to areas across the country. Alvis said that 300 buses will be used in additional daily trips from April 15th to the 17th for the people returning to the city for work after the New Year celebration. In addition to this, he said that every depot in the country will operate additional bus journeys and steps have been taken to speedily distribute the buses obtained under the Indian Credit Line to provide better transport facilities to the public. The All-Island Buddhist Congress requests the President and the Minister of Power and Energy to provide some kind of relief for the places of religious worship affected by the electricity tariff hike. At a meeting held in Ratmalana, Paramadhamma Chaitya Pirivena recently, the Congress has passed a proposal unanimously in this connection. The Congress also requests the government to expedite the proposal to install solar power panels in religious places. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
The Controller General of the Department of Immigration and Emigration has requested all applicants for passports who have received appointments on the 12th of April to hand over their respective applications to the Passport Office before 12 noon on the 12th of April 2023. And the Consumer Affairs Authority has so far identified 1,500 retail shops which have sold goods at higher prices and hoarded stocks during raids conducted these days. The CAA will take legal action against these shop owners in the future for misleading and causing inconvenience to the people during the festive season. The CAA has also instructed its officials to pay more attention to eggs in these raids. Accordingly, the CAA has inspected poultry farms in Kurunegala, Halmillava and Kadigamua and nabbed the offending errant farm owners. In the coming days, the officials have been directed to carry out further market raids, especially on poultry farms across the country. Special teams have also been deployed for duties during the festive season, and the officers of the authority are also carrying out investigations at night when necessary, including on holidays. And with that, we conclude local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The State Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Janaka Vakkumara, says that the 2023 local government election will likely not be held on the 25th of April 2023. Speaking to the media following a special meeting held between the Prime Minister and Election Commission, the State Minister mentioned that the Prime Minister promised to do justice to the requests of the Election Commission in consultation with the Ministry of Finance, and that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the 2022 GCE Ordinary Level Examination, which is scheduled to commence on the 15th of May, has been postponed by 2 weeks, the Department of Examinations announced. Accordingly, the examination will be held from the 29th of May to the 8th of June 2023, the department revealed. For any inquiries regarding this matter, the candidates can contact the Department of Examination via telephone numbers 0112 785 922 or 0112 784 537. Repeating those telephone numbers 0112 785 922 or 0112 784 537, and that came to you in Watchlight. And moving on to a bulletin of world news. Making headlines, the US says a journalist is wrongfully detained in Russia. Gunman kills 4 in bank shooting in Kentucky. And mother of 6-year-old who shot Virginia teacher is charged. And the world news in detail. The United States has designated journalist Ivan Gershkovich as being wrongfully detained by Russia and called for his immediate release. He's an experienced Russia reporter and was arrested last month in the city of Yekaterinburg while working for the Wall Street Journal. He has since been formally charged with spying, but the WSJ denies this. It is the first time Moscow has accused a US journalist of espionage since the Soviet era. 4 people were killed when an employee opened fire in a bank in Louisville, Kentucky, and live-streamed the attack on Instagram, police say. The victims were aged between 40 and 64. Among 9 others injured was a rookie police officer who graduated into the force 2 weeks ago. The officer was struck in the head and is still critical after brain surgery. The police responded within 3 minutes and fatally shot the attacker in an exchange of gunfire. The mother of a 6-year-old child who shot his teacher at a school in Virginia has been criminally charged. Deja Taylor, 25, has been indicted by a grand jury with a felony child neglect charge and a misdemeanor charge. The police said previously that the gun used in the shooting belonged to Mrs. Taylor. The child brought the gun in his backpack to Richneck Elementary School in the city of Newport on the 6th of January. And back to the headlines of the world news. The US says a journalist is wrongfully detained in Russia. Gunman kills 4 in bank shooting in Kentucky. And mother of 6-year-old who shot Virginia teacher is charged. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
Sri Lanka is expanding to expand the cultivation of chili with high-yield, disease-resistant variants with the aim of meeting the entire domestic need by 2025. Sri Lanka has an annual requirement of 75,000 metric tons for green chili, which is produced domestically. There is another dry chili requirement of 55,000 metric tons, for which 48,000 metric tons is imported. The government's Maha Ilupalama Agricultural Research Centre has introduced 2 new hybrid chili variants called MICH1 and MICH2 and came to you in development news. And we are moving on to sports. The Sri Lanka cricket team will play 2 test matches against Ireland and the series will commence on April 16th at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. The Sri Lankan team, led by Dimuth Karunaratne, is ready to take up the challenge against Ireland at the Galle Stadium. And that came to you in sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's treasury bond yields are down while T-bills were steady at close on Monday, dealers said. And the Sri Lankan rupee closed at 319 rupees to 320 rupees against the US dollar. That came to you in business news. We take a look at economic news next.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, net foreign buying in Sri Lanka's government securities has nearly tripled to 73.9 billion rupees so far this year, the central bank data showed, and currency dealers said offshore investors are gradually buying the island nation's treasury papers due to higher return. Foreign investors hardly bought any Sri Lankan government securities as the central bank maintained the interest rates artificially at record low by printing trillions of rupees of money. The excess money was printed to lend a cash-strapped government to maintain higher spending at the administration of then-President Gotabaya Rajapaksa failed to increase the revenue. Foreigners also did not buy the government securities due to exchange rate risks. And that came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says that showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, southern and northwestern provinces during the night. On the apparent northward relative motion of the sun, it is going to be directly over the latitudes of Sri Lanka from the 5th to the 15th of April this year. The nearest areas of Sri Lanka over which the sun is overhead today are Kalpitiya, Nikavava, Somawati Temple and Verugal at about 12:11 noon. And that was the weather report. And now to conclude this morning's news broadcast, a recap of the headlines. The President instructs the relevant authorities to develop the city of Nuwara Eliya. He says the agreement between the IMF and the government provides an opportunity to rebuild the economy. Over 300 additional SLTB buses have been deployed to the convenience of the people who visit hometowns during the festive season. The All-Ireland Buddhist Congress requests the government to provide some kind of relief for the places of religious worship affected by the electricity tariff hike. The 2022 GC O-level examination postponed. The US says a journalist is wrongfully detained in Russia. And the test series between Sri Lanka and Ireland will commence on April 16th. And with that we conclude this